Archive, a secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's future.
This is an actual crime.
They don't care for that.
Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away. So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
Jubilation in the streets, while some emotional. This is a political victory for Prime Minister Modi and his Hindu Nationalist Party. I'm Neville Lazarus, and I'm Sky's reporter based in Delhi. Companies like these are helping India in its trajectory to be a serious player in space exploration. Sky News, get the full story first.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story.
I'm ready. Are you?
Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
Hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. In the next half hour, we'll see what's making the headlines with the columnist for The Independent, James Rampton, and the broadcaster and psychotherapist, Lucy Beresford. First, let's take a quick look to see what is on some of those front pages. Well, The Telegraph leads with the political reaction to the news that more than 1,000 migrants reportedly crossed the channel in small boats today. If confirmed, it will be the most in a single day so far this year. The Express, meanwhile, goes with the call from the Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick to allow prison guards to use tasers, stun guns and rubber bullets amid rising levels of violence in UK prisons. The Mail reports on the US government charging a British man with alleged spying for China. The Observer reflects on Elon Musk's short but eventful tenure as the head of Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency. And The Star examines the apparent trend of neighbours falling out over mowing their lawns on Sunday morning, because it can be very, very loud. We are joined tonight by James Rampton and Lucy Beresford. Thank you both for coming in. It's great to see you. Let's start with this story on the front of the Telegraph that we just spoke of. The headline there, PM has lost control of borders. Now, what they're allegedly, they're claiming 1,000 migrants crossed the channel in a single day. That would be the biggest single number of single crossings in one day. Has to be said, the Home Office hasn't confirmed those figures. We're expecting to hear from the Home Office with official figures tomorrow. But Lucy, if I can start with you, what do you make of the story and the headline?
Well, it's a very content-rich story because it isn't just about the number of people coming over. There's information in this particular article about ways in which France is actually changing its laws to try to make it illegal for people to overstay their welcome in France, as opposed to the moment that they get on a boat being the first opportunity that the French could actually try and get them for committing an offence. This tells you quite how many boats from the UK were actually being deployed today to try to offset the number of people who are coming today. And that in itself is a really interesting figure. But then you've got the wider political context, which is that we are only a couple of weeks out of some local elections where Reform did extraordinarily well, largely on the back of a story around immigration. We've got a by-election in Scotland on Thursday, which Scottish Labour are expected to do quite badly in that, which again may be an opportunity to reform to get to steal a march on that. So you've got a story that isn't just about the thing that the photo is. It's a very dramatic photo. Quite how many people are on this boat. You can understand why we hear so often that boats have capsized or unfortunately people have drowned. This boat is completely stuffed with people, far too many people to be on there. And then you've got the way in which it's being handled both from the British side and the French side. and the wider political story of it.
Speaking of the wider political story, of course, the Tories have called it a day of shame for Labour. We've got a quote here from Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, saying that Labour has completely lost control of our borders. I mean, you know, the whole issue around migration, especially these illegal crossings. And it's interesting how, when you look at the migration figures, actually the irregular migration is a small number compared to all. But it just, this really, really outrages people.
It is the most incendiary story that we have in domestic politics at the moment, and I absolutely agree with Lucy. Very good summary she gave of the Telegraph story and also of the very striking photo. But that, to me, underlines the human cost of this. And we're talking about figures and politicians arguing, but that, to me, emphasises the desperation that these people feel and why this must be sorted and why, to be honest, Reform are doing so well, because Starmer, the Tories failed with their Rwanda policy. Starmer has made no cut-through on this issue. He's done nothing that he's talked about, smashing the gangs and, you know, cracking down on the people smugglers, but he's made no headway in that at all, certainly in terms of the electorate. He's got to do something, or the rise of Reform will continue unabated. And you're right, this Scottish by-election is very much in the balance. Who would have thought that Reform would win in Scotland? But that's not an impossibility now, because immigration is the hottest of hot potatoes.
Right. Lucy?
Well, yes, I mean, what I would say is the image is so striking because it's all male. There's no sense here of families fleeing war-torn conflicts and in destitution. These are people, dare I say it, who look reasonably well-dressed. They look quite fit and healthy, and yet they are coming over and they're trying to get here illegally. And the key issue about immigration is that there are so many people who don't worry so much about immigration. In fact, we're incredibly alert to how we need immigrants in this country, particularly to do work that, for some reason, British people don't want to do. It's illegal migration, and that photo speaks volumes for critics.
Although, you know, a lot of those men may still have valid asylum claims. Obviously, we don't know that, but obviously,
and
I take
people
your
will always
point
push back on that and say, so why don't you seek asylum then? Why do you have to come in an illegal manner? That's the thing that people really object to.
I mean, it's obviously, you know, a very something that people feel rightly very strongly about. Let's go to the Mail on Sunday and their lead story. Their interesting one that actually comes out of the US. British dad spying for China. That's what the words they use. Seized in FBI sting. James.
Yes, it's very interesting, this. Immediately, the Mail has pointed out that he's a family man from Tunbridge Wells, emphasising the connection with male readers. But if you dig down into the story, and you kindly handed us an FBI press release, it's fascinating. It seems like a sting from the movies. Yeah. From what we can gather from this press release, allegedly this British man and a Chinese associate were trying to stop a critic of China protesting against President Xi, and they used two accomplices who were apparently FBI undercover agents. I mean, it really is something from, you know, from 24 or Homeland or something like that. So it's a fascinating story. But it also shows how, in America, they're very careful to protect people who want to criticise China. If you criticise other governments, they're cracking down on you a bit harder, as we've seen some people who've been turned back on the border. If, for instance, you criticise President Trump, and I'm going to the US next week, and I better be careful what I say, then some people have been turned back at the border. So, to me, that's interesting. Freedom of speech seems to be a bit of a relative concept, but it is a great story. A British man caught up in a movie-style sting. It's extraordinary, really.
He's one of two, so just to make clear, he's been charged with conspiracy smuggling, violations of the Arms Export Control Act, and also interstate stalking and conspiracy to commit interstate stalking. And it's him and another person from China.
Yes, and actually they've also been trying to smuggle military technology into Beijing.
Yeah, which is why they get called a spy, presumably.
Exactly. So it isn't just about the fact that they were trying to intercept somebody who was making some statues of President Xi and his family. It's actually they were actively pursuing something to support China as opposed to supporting America.
Yeah, in the past half an hour or so, we've had a statement from the Foreign Office as well saying they're providing consular assistance to a British national following his arrest in Serbia in April. And these people were detained in Serbia. Let's move on to another story, massive story, actually. Let's start with The Times. And this is the Defence Review. Lucy, if you want to start us off. So, front page of The Times, lots of angles to this. British fighter jets to carry nuclear bombs, again, to counter what is seen as the growing threat from Russia.
Yeah, so there's going to be a Strategic Defence Review announcement tomorrow, and everyone is really curious to know what's actually going to be in it, not just the content of it, but what the timelines are going to be, and also if it is going to be an increase in the defence spending, again, how long is it going to take us to get to that 3%? Because I think a lot of people would argue that 3% by 2035 or whatever it's meant to be, that's just too little too late. But at the moment, front page of The Times, they're talking about how British fighter jets are possibly going to have to carry nuclear bombs in a way to have that extra capacity if it was an airborne military theatre war, but they're also talking about the ways in which war gets conducted in lots of other areas in terms of cybersecurity or whether it's drones. So the Defence Review, I mean, it sounds very dramatic because I think we tend to think of the nuclear bomb and when it went off in the 1940s in those two countries, but you forget that actually there are countries that are still actually routinely putting it onto their fighter jets. We're going to be one of those countries that does that routinely. James?
Yes, I think it's very interesting, the attention, and I think it's absolutely right, the attention that John Healey's got. I know it was the lead story on Sky News earlier.
And actually, forgive me, let me just bring up another angle in the Telegraph. Sunday Telegraph, Britain to be made war-ready with 1.5 billion for bomb factories, if we can look at the front of the Telegraph. But please continue while they bring it up.
I mean, that very phrase, war-ready, indicates to me how the world has changed. Over the past 25 years, with the rise of Vladimir Putin, the world has become a far more dangerous place. I mean, leaving aside the threat from China, but Healey said today the world is definitely becoming more dangerous. Nuclear risks are rising. We face now, for the first time since the end of the Cold War, seriously increasing risks of state-on-state conflict. We have to be perpetually ready for war because Putin is completely ruthless. He's an absolute gangster who will do anything he can to damage other countries and increase his own sphere of influence. So we have to be ready for that. And
part of the problem is that we've actually given quite a lot of our military hardware, quite rightly, one might argue, to Ukraine while they were fighting their war. So not only have we not been investing in our armed forces, we've actually depleted our munitions. So one of the things that this Defence Review is actually going to highlight is how we're literally going to build bomb factories. This is kind of what happened in the 1930s, where you actually have people who are working in that industry for a war that doesn't yet exist, to be prepared.
And it says, one of these pieces says, if we were to fight a war, our military would run out within 6 months. We haven't got enough material and, dare I say it, personnel to keep going more than 6 months, because you're right, we've been depleted.
We're going to have to leave it there, but of course there will be details coming out about the Defence Review, both tomorrow, Sunday, and then of course the announcement on Monday. For now, let's move on. Coming up, should prison staff be armed? A senior Tory politician says yes. We'll discuss that next.
It's like a football final with only one team on the pitch. This isn't just a call to vote, but a call to remember. The freedom fought for by the African National Congress.
I'm Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky's Africa correspondent based in Johannesburg, South Africa.
A cyclone and 2 burst dams wiped out hundreds of generational homes.
This was the second dam that the floodwaters hit before it tore into Derna. We are in the heart of Nairobi, and we're watching as protesters were heavily tear gassed.
The sheer fearlessness and persistence of these guys is astonishing.
We help you understand the world with us. I remember going into the iconic Durman market in the heart of Sudan's capital for the first time since the war started. And this is what's left of it. Bullet holes through buildings, shelled balconies, bullet cases on the floor. I witnessed the complete destruction of a place linked to my childhood memories and the lives of millions of people. This is insane. This was a bustling residential area. So many friends who lived here. My most memorable interview was with a 15-year-old boy who'd survived being stranded on a migrant boat on its way from Senegal to the Canary Islands.
After 13 days, our food, water and fuel supply ran out.
I felt awe when we saw the mountain gorillas in Rwanda.
They call him the king of the jungle. This is the alpha silverback.
Sky News, get the full story first. Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky News.
I want to start the programme today with a name, a story that I can't get out of my head. The campaign has now started. This is your chance. Tell people, this is the Politics Hub. It's not correct. The tax burden is projected to go up.
No, but
I'm not. This is my interview. Look, this is ridiculous.
No one does care about us.
I'm really interested in that. On the Politics Hub, we like to push the boundaries. He's got the majority. The question is, what is he going to do with it?
A show of military might and menace. Why should the West trust you?
Frankly, I don't care whether the West trusts us or not.
Sky News. Get the full story first. Have a quick word for Sky News. Is the West right? Are you fueling Russia's war machine? American journalist Evan Gershkovich is on trial here, but was first on display. I'm Ivor Bennett, Sky's Moscow correspondent.
We arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's future.
This is an actual crime.
They don't care for that.
Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away. So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
Welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me in the studio, James Rampton and Lucy Beresford. James, talk us through this next story. Front page of the Sunday Express, armed jail staff to stop Islamist attacks. This is Senior Tory Jenrick here, Robert Jenrick, and this call comes after another prison officer has been attacked while on duty.
I'm about to begin with a phrase I never thought I'd utter. I agree with Robert Jenrick. I think he's right about this. There's an epidemic of violence. I would hasten to add he's not only talking about Islamist attacks, he's also talking about far-right extremists committing attacks. But to be a prison officer is an extremely commendable but highly difficult job. And they are finding it harder and harder. 3 serious attacks on them in the last 2 months. And he's suggesting that there are secure armories holding lethal weapons. Now, obviously, that'd be extremely important to protect that properly so prisoners couldn't get hold of it and create mayhem inside. But to protect our prison officers is highly, highly important because they do an amazing job. And if this can help, I think it's absolutely to be commended.
Lucy.
Well, again, really interesting story in and of itself. This is about Robert Jenrick identifying a serious situation, particularly on the back of the most recent episode, which is a prison officer who was stabbed in the stomach with a knife, which they think was actually brought into the prison through a drone. So it's all becoming incredibly sophisticated. But on the back of this, we also have to recognise that this is Robert Jenrick doing what he did earlier this week, creating a lot of noise and momentum around certain issues that people feel really strongly about. Earlier in the week, it was about fare dodging on London Transport. His video of accosting fare dodgers has racked up, I think, over 11 million views. Really? And now he's actually coming up on the front foot about this as well. So he's zoning in on what ordinary people are really concerned about in terms of the breakdown of society. And he's also on manoeuvres within the Conservative Party.
Okay.
Watch out, Kemi Badenoch, is what I would say.
You probably wouldn't
Sorry,
be the only
she
one to
should
say
watch
that.
out too.
Okay, we don't have much longer. Let's look at the front page of The Observer. And there he is with his black eye, Elon Musk, as he leaves, well, officially sort of leaves the White House, but then during the news conference in the Oval Office yesterday, Donald Trump sort of saying he's not really leaving. And I think we have more pictures as well. The inside of The Observer, pages 6 and 7. Who can forget that picture of him there wielding a chainsaw, as you do. Lucy.
Well, I mean, where do I begin in terms of the psychology of this? There is reference made inside The Observer to the very highly strung nature of this man. And there are references as to why that might be. Well, I don't know how far I can go with that, but going onto the stage with a chainsaw, bringing one of your 14 children into the White House, people are just saying this man, talk about moving fast and breaking things. This is what Trump wanted. He wanted to throw the pack of cards up and see where they landed. But I think even he's begun to see that this is a loose cannon.
James.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't make him up in a way. If he were a Bond villain, you'd say, no, he's over the top. And the fact that he had a black eye yesterday, for me, is completely emblematic.
Do we know who gave it to him?
Well, he
says
claims it was his
toddler son.
5-year-old son,
Yeah.
the one who is seen in the White House more often than President Trump. Anyway, he says he was punched by his son. But the fact that he's got a black eye is an emblem of the bruising damage that he's created to himself as much as anything else.
James, we're going to have to leave it there. James, Lucy, thank you both so much. I'll see you in the next hour. Thank you. And now let's take a quick look.
Breathtaking views with clear skies ahead. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Well, it will stay unsettled through the first part of the month with widespread showers or longer spells of rain, but the south looks drier later. There'll be a muggy start in the southeast tomorrow, but it will be cooler and fresher elsewhere, with showers in the north and west, prolonged over southwestern Scotland. The morning will bring sunny spells and widespread blustery, locally heavy showers, prolonged and potentially thundery over central Britain. The showers will be centred in the north.
Breathtaking views with clear skies ahead. Qatar Airways sponsors the weather.
Jubilation in the streets, while some emotional. This is a political victory for Prime Minister Modi and his Hindu Nationalist Party. I'm Neville Lazarus, and I'm Sky's reporter based in Delhi. Companies like these are helping India in its trajectory to be a serious player in space exploration. Sky News, get the full story first.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story.
I'm ready. Are you?
Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.